Welcome back. You're watching Centre Stage. Modi Sarkar today refused to announce new railway projects. Modi's railway minister said populist projects were bleeding the Indian railways and he will course correct without losing another minute. It's time to say goodbye to populism, it seems. It's a promise to put pragmatism over everything else and turn around the Indian railways.
Bullet trains, world-class stations and safety, but zero populism. And the rail minister was unapologetic about it as he got up to introduce Modi's government's agenda. The money will come from foreign direct investment. Gowda claims that focus on freight operations would be the real game changer. Modi's bullet budget was a statement of big vision.
15 का ये रेल बजट देश को अधिक गति देने वाला, रेलवे को अधिक आधुनिक बनाने वाला, नागरिकों को अधिक सुरक्षा और सेवा देने वाला सिद्ध होगा.
It spoke of consolidation, sought to limit if not eradicate populism, and promised a better, safer ride largely with private investment. But the message is clear: big ideas and big dreams come at a price, and the end user will have to pay. Bureau Report, headlines today.
Does today's railway budget signal the end of mindless populism? What the Congress was notorious for, which landed the railways in the financial mess that it is in today, and what does this portend for the general budget in a day from now? Joining us on the Centre Stage, face off tonight, N.K. Singh representing the BJP, Mohammad Salim from the CPM, we got Sachin Pilot from the Congress Party, and Dr. Arvind Vamani, former Chief Economic Advisor. I want to go across first and foremost to N.K. Singh, because some of the things that we've heard today about public-private participation, about better using the land bank available with the Indian Railways, about improving speed, safety, all these are things, Mr. Singh, that Indian voters and railway consumers have heard in the past. Several railway ministers have spoken about it earlier as well. Even the faster trains is an idea which Mallikarjun Kharge spoke about. So there's nothing fundamentally new in what the rail minister today said. Why should we believe that Modi and Gowda can do what other ministers said but failed?
Well, I think that, to answer your question, let me just make 3 points as a preliminary point, Rahul. First, I think that there is no doubt that the railway finances are in a colossal mess. The operating ratio has come down from 77% to now what is 94.5%, which means only 5.5% is available for any meaningful investment. That the railway tariff has been exceedingly distortionary. You have loaded the freight, you have subsidized the passengers. This cross-subsidy in a mindless populism has sucked the finances of the railways. The absence of any competition, the absence of gainful measurement on productivity, and the absence of wanting to have any private investment has bedeviled the railways. Now, in the background of all this, if you look at the proposals of Mr. Sadanand Gowda, it is no doubt true that the use of railway land has been talked of earlier. It is no doubt true that private investment has been talked of earlier. But at no other point in time, if you look at the table relating to the railway finances, has a definite credit been taken for 6,000 crores of public-private partnership and private investment coming in. That is integral to the management of railway finances. At no other point in time have you found a categorical commitment that we will now seek FDI in the railway sector. Nobody has talked of FDI, and therefore there is a degree of commitment.
Okay.
There is therefore the beginning of deep structural reforms which railway finances need, which the management of the railway needs to bring about comparative efficiency, better consumer service, faster trains, in a faster integration of India.
You make a very compelling argument on why the Indian Railways needs to move away from mindless populism, and that, Sachin, is something the Congress government was notorious for. You kept railway prices artificially low, so much so that today when we look at the comparison, it is almost 10 times cheaper in several sectors to travel by railways than it is to travel by road. That is how much the difference is between traveling by road and traveling by rail, and that is absolutely ridiculous. It doesn't happen anywhere else. What Modi is saying is there will be no unnecessary announcements of new trains, because you've got more than 350 projects announced by your railway ministers which were announced but never completed. Is that not a good thing, the end of mindless populism, Sachin Pilot?
But I don't think mindless populism is something that we should be branded for. All we did in the last 10 years is that we had a coalition government and we had ministers from various parties, but collectively we were responsible for the railway department. What bothers me a little bit today is the fact that the Congress party has never been against FDI or reforms. But the BJP in all its campaign during the Lok Sabha polls kept talking about how the Congress party is opening up too fast. The BJP opposed FDI in retail, they opposed, and there were all these Swadeshi Jagran months and the whole lot of them were deadly against it. So this 6-week time has turned the tables completely, and this is really the dichotomy of all of it. And I think it's unfortunate that now all these things seem very sensible and the right thing to do, but when the Congress government of the UPA tried to do these reforms or to bring about some changes, especially in the FDI, there was huge resistance.
No, but the irony is that now you've begun to oppose all the sensible things the BJP government tries to do. The same price hikes that you wanted to bring in, now that the BJP is bringing in, the irony really is that you're opposing them. You were yourself out, Sachin, in Jaipur, opposing the railway price hike, which you're now saying is a perfectly sensible thing to do, given how much of a problem you have with railway finances.
NDA called for a Bharat Bandh, and they said price rise is going to kill every single person in the society.
But you're doing the same thing. So if the NDA did something wrong, why are you doing another wrong thing, Sachin?
No. We are not doing anything wrong. All I'm saying is that they should have the courage of conviction to say that we said something else when we were in opposition and we have now changed our mind.
And shouldn't you have the courage of your conviction to say that we were pushing for railway hike earlier, we couldn't do so, but now we applaud the BJP government for actually showing the courage of its convictions by going out and doing what we wanted to do but couldn't. Shouldn't you also have the courage of conviction to say so, Sachin?
We had a Congress minister only for 1 year. Rahul, we had a coalition government. The BJP does not have a coalition problem. There are no allies that are asking for this department and are making demands on the ministry. We had our own compulsions at the time that we were in government. But today I'm saying that you increase the fare, but do it in the budget speech on the floor of the House. Don't preempt it by doing it outside of Parliament. I think that's something that's never been done. It shouldn't be done when the budget is so close. And issue a white paper. Let the people know exactly what the status is. Don't blame the previous governments and then say we are doing what the UPA wanted to do, but now everybody should clap and make it look like it's all
so
nice.
We've got the Congress and the BJP agreeing
required to do, but be bold enough to say that we
BJP is trying to do is sensible, but we've got the Congress saying that they were being obstructionist when they were in opposition, and that I think is a very fair charge. But Mohammad Salim, does the left have fundamental problems with the opening up of the Indian railways? Because if you want this diamond quadrilateral, which is Modi's big idea of speed trains, you need a lot of equity infusion, you need a lot of money coming in, which the Indian Railway simply doesn't have. Will the left try and oppose the BJP if it opens up railways to FDI, or do you accept it's the only solution now?
We have no complaint for diamond quadrilateral, but this diamond is being shown to some part of India and not the all parts of India. Now the new government is doing for whom and for what purpose? And as you say, from the beginning, the left is having a position that you set your house in right order first. So your economy is in bad shape. The fundamentals of railway has gone wrong. So here is an opportunity for Modi government to address where it went wrong in the last 1 or 2 decades. And you are announcing PPP or FDI that earlier government also, earlier ministers have announced it. But who will come and invest if you don't set your thing in a proper perspective, and if you don't correct, it's a stay course or you change the course. This budget is just continuing with the same old beaten path. There is no change in the course. So naturally, rhetorics apart, actually they have not addressed the real problems of the railways economy, which is in mess.
Okay, Dr. Vermani, your sense on the first question that we're asking tonight, does this budget do enough to signal the end of mindless populism?
I think what intrigued me was the kind of initial period where the minister talked about welfare versus commercial. So that was very unusual. I have not seen that. Like you said, there are many things which are repeated in this budget from the past, but I don't recall hearing this kind of
treating the railway as a commercial organization.
He's trying to communicate with
That's
the
what
people
Modi did as well.
that you got to change this weighting. It's been too much on welfareism, welfare socialism, whatever populism you call it. I mean, you can use different words for it, but you have to change the balance. You know, there's a right balance for the railways. Secondly, on your second question, what is different? I think there's a whole bunch of governance, e-governance issues which indicate that they are serious. I mean, there's a list. Somebody may say, why do you need a list of 15 different things to do? But in some ways, it shows that they are serious about governance reform, which is very essential. The CPM gentleman just said that, you know, you got to put your house in order. Well, you got to improve governance. That is being attended.
Okay, I want to come to the second question that we're asking tonight, and this deals with the big bullet train or the speed train, not necessarily a bullet train in the way that Japan sees it or China sees it, but speed trains, fast trains. That's Modi's big idea. That is for Modi what the golden quadrilateral was for Vajpayee. Now, is it worth the time and expense? Given the fact that it costs almost 60,000 crore rupees to build a 500-kilometer corridor between Mumbai and Ahmedabad, just one corridor, that's the amount of investment Mr. N.K. Singh this project will take. It's almost 9 crore per kilometer. The cost will be equal to what you have to pay when you're traveling by air. In a country like India, should you not fix the nuts and the bolts and the basics of the railways first, as opposed to attempting something so dramatic and so ambitious? Mr. N.K. Singh?
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear you. They got cut off. No, I think that I have two responses. The first is that one is not a substitute for the other. You need to fix the nuts and bolts of the railways. You certainly need to restructure its finances. You need to restructure its management. You need to bring about competitive efficiency. You need to improve amenities.
Sure, it's also about what you pick as your thrust area. But in this budget, speed trains are the thrust area. They are the big idea.
No.
Is it the right big idea is the question I ask you.
I think that in my view, clearly, faster movement and bullet trains are aspirational and are the right ideas. And believe it or not, there is enough international interest in investing in FDI in respect of fast trains.
That's an important point you make.
Will be forthcoming.
Okay, Mohammed Salim, if Modi were to suggest that they would build the speed trains at the expense of all the welfare agenda of the railways, then you can have a problem. But if companies from Japan or China come in, invest the lakhs of crores that are required to build the speed train network, will the left still have a problem? Or do you think if it's aspirational, like sending a satellite up into space, that's a good thing for India to want to do? If China has so many speed trains, why can't India have them? Mr. Salim.
No, as an Indian, I'll be proud. But the question is, China or Japan is going to invest. They will give loan. But in any case, 60,000 crores worth for, as you rightly pointed out, from Mumbai to Ahmedabad, it's okay. If you have affordability, you afford it. But the question is, this year itself, the railway minister's budget has set the essential things like track renewals, the strengthening of the bridge, procurement of wagons, procurement of coaches, question of electrification and double lining and new lines. So for coming several years, you will shelve all your basic things and basic obligations. So it's like chasing Kal Mriga of Ramayana. Instead of you attend to your basic things.
Okay, you're saying stick to the basics, Sachin Pilot. Do you agree with the dream that Narendra Modi has, the dream of the fast train, the train that can take you from Delhi to Chandigarh in an hour and a half? Some would say if you just fix the basic network, you can go from Delhi to Chandigarh in 2.5 hours, and that is good enough. So instead of spending all these thousands of crores on the speed train network, fix your current network, or do you think it's good to dream? It's Modi's big idea. Do you buy it? Do you share it? Are you as excited?
I think the BJP is a victim of its own propaganda, because you have promising the moon while you're campaigning. And I'm not against fast train, bullet trains. I think India is a growing economy. We need it. But look at the timing of it. There are thousands of bridges about to collapse. There is railway safety issues. Every month we see almost accidents happening, people losing their lives. Their crossings are not manned. The gauges
But
have been
Sachin,
converted.
it's not an either
so
or.
It is not a substitute.
You can't
but certainly the amount of
suggest
resource
that Modi is
allocation
not
that this
wanting to
requires,
deal with those basic problems by trying to create a speed train rail network. He's saying we'll fix the basics, we'll also dream big. Is that aspirationally not a good thing to want to do?
It's absolutely wrong. You have not read the
I'm
papers.
sorry, no.
You see, they have decreased the
The
target
reasoning behind
this year,
increasing the
particularly all the
passenger
other
fare
stops.
is that the railways have no money. No. They say they have no money, so once you're going bankrupt, you fix your house in order. At least become a robust
But Sachin,
ministry
what
to
if
be able to incur such
Chinese or
expenditure and
Japanese
investment.
companies that are
You
willing
can't
to
show
invest?
a picture of I'm going to get a bullet train.
Because
And
you've got a comment here from the railway minister. He says, I
look, I
can't
don't buy
increase
this
fare
agreement. There is no
to
free lunch.
generate
There is-
investment. I need to bring foreign investment in, and if foreign investors are willing to invest, surely you can't have a problem if you've got trains zipping from Delhi to Mumbai at 250, 300 kilometers per hour.
I have no problems with investments, Rahul. My point is that which company, which country will invest for free? They'll give a loan, a subsidy, they'll recover their money. Nobody comes here and puts money because they like you and me. They want to make money out of it. The economics of it, I'm saying we have to first do the things that are important for us. If the railway is in such shambles that you have no money, then how are you giving this aspirational picture and blame me for being a politician? But I think because, you know, Mumbai is where Maharashtra is, where the elections are, this is a good thing to throw out there, saying, well, I'm going to connect Ahmedabad and Mumbai with a bullet train and let the newspapers guide for the next 1 month and forget about it later on.
Okay.
So I don't know how much of this will become
They
a
want to
reality,
live
but the fact is
inside.
that
There
we
are two
want to
compelling
those
arguments. You
bridges,
make a
those tunnels,
political
those
point,
railway
but there are
crossings
two
have to be
compelling
manned
economic
first
arguments I
before
want to
we
put
do
to
the
Arvind
bigger
Varmani. The first is, in several countries where there are now speed train networks, people are questioning the validity of these networks and saying that, you know, you don't have enough people traveling, the costs are too high. Are they even worth it? Now, India doesn't have that problem, but is it something we should be aspiring to? Is it a legitimate aspiration?
Right. So there are two quick points. One is, in the budget there is only 100 crore of government money which is to investigate the issue. I think that's perfectly okay. Number two, the key to all this is going to be risk capital. If I think there are only 4 countries, Germany, France, Japan and China. If they are willing to put the risk capital into it, then I think it's perfectly okay. But if we are going to risk our money,
No, but he's made clear he won't do that. He's made clear that he won't do that.
Well, it's not clear to me at all. That's why the 100 crore for investigation. All this is going to be investigated and...
No, but he says that the only
No,
way
are you
to
talking
fund...
about the bullet train or the fast train?
I'm talking about the bullet train project. They're making
I-
very clear that all the money, see, there is the idea of the fast train will be funded from abroad. That is something the railway minister makes clear. He's saying he's not going to take money out of what the railways has to
Right.
try and fund this project.
That's right. So that means the risk capital is coming from outside, then it's okay.
No, but Mr. NK Singh, here's an important question. Sachin Pilot and his government tried the PPP model. It didn't work. Montek Singh Ahluwalia and Jairam Ramesh constantly cribbed that here is a model that is fundamentally flawed. Even we saw this morning Rajiv Shukla said that it's been tried, it doesn't work in its Indian avatar for the Indian Railways. If it didn't work for the Congress, why will it work for the BJP? Mr. NK Singh.
Well, let me say this without sounding adversarial or trying to do this sort of political stuff, some of which Sachin was doing, that I do not think that they tried seriously. I do not think that their heart was in trying to get FDI into the railway sector. This thought itself was anathema. The Congress party was torn into ideological divides of various kinds. And Sachin is right, of course, that the fact that you ran a coalition government and you had one of the important partners of the coalition handling the railway portfolio did not really help very much. But the fact remains that they were not seriously behind this concept in pursuing it to its logical conclusion.
Okay, that's where I end this program. He's pressed the right buttons. No mindless populism. We'll improve our finances, improve safety, create speed trains. Now the question is, previous railway ministers have said the same. They failed to deliver. Can Gowda be different by actually delivering? And if he can find the money from abroad, then nobody has a problem. If he diverts money from the Indian Railways, then of course Mohammad Salim, Sachin Pilot and their parties will be up in arms. Interesting tidings though for what this means for the general budget. Tomorrow at noon is when the economic survey will be presented. We'll know the numbers about how much of a mess the economy really is in and how much of a challenge Narendra Modi has along with Arun Jaitley to try and fix that. But for the time being, Sachin Pilot, Mohammad Salim, also to Arvind Vermani and NK Singh for joining us on the second part of Center Stage tonight. Thank you very much. Amit Shah's elevation and the economic survey tomorrow morning will be our top focus. We'll resume our coverage, but for the time being, we take a break. News and updates continue on the other side. Thanks for tuning in tonight.